Officer has finally returned to Canada. Inflation and higher interest rates are really challenging for a lot of people. That means one of my principal responsibility is not to pour fuel on the flames of inflation. So fiscal responsibility is really important. Mr. Speaker, those are the words of the Finance Minister just 9 weeks ago, who can't bring herself to answer basic questions about why her budget is the exact opposite. She's gone into hiding, trying to distance herself from her own government. Canadians want to know if she's going to answer the question, and if not, will she get out of the way so Conservatives can just take over?
Hey gang, what's up? Just Ehren right here, Question Period Canada. How y'all doing? I've been wanting to put together a video about Melissa Lantsman, so we're going to do that. She's the deputy leader of the Conservative Party, the official opposition, and she's the first elected lesbian to the Conservative Party in the House of Commons. I don't know why that's interesting, but they say it is. She's also Jewish, which makes her sort of outside of the stereotypical Conservative MP, but she's super interesting, has a silver tongue, a crazy cowlick, she's really sharp, and she's getting to the bottom of all of these Trudeau controversies, scams, and scandals. Let's take a look at Melissa Lantsman. Here she goes.
Our government has made the decision to stop investing in road infrastructure. You said you didn't say it. You clearly said it. You said you didn't mean it. So what is it that you meant by our government has made the decision to stop investing in new roads if you didn't mean that our government has made the decision to stop investing in new roads?
Merci pour la question. En fait, ce que j'ai déjà dit à plusieurs.
Thank you for the question. In fact, what I've said several times, and I will repeat it here for the committee, I should have specified that these comments were made in the context of the third link in Quebec City, a project that the government of Quebec sometimes promoted, sometimes didn't. And this link would connect Quebec City and the South Shore of Quebec.
The bus on that. So I'll read the second thing that you said. The analysis that we have done is that the network is perfectly adequate to respond to the needs we have. Now, I don't have to tell you that it takes 29 minutes to drive 10 kilometers in Toronto. It takes 19 minutes in your city of Montreal. And of course, not everybody lives next to a subway. So what's the analysis that we have done? Can you state a specific analysis?
Comme je l'ai dit, et je vais le répéter, je faisais spécifiquement référence.
As I was saying, I was specifically referring to the third link.
Did you share that with the Minister of Transport? Because he earlier threw you under the bus and said that he hadn't seen an analysis. So is that something that you're willing to share with him or maybe table at this committee?
Je pense que ça s'est perdu un peu dans la...
I think things got lost in the translation. I was saying that there are analyses that have shown, countless analyses in Quebec, that the third link is not needed, the link between the Quebec City South Shore and Quebec City.
We have done, you're talking about an analysis that was done. Which analysis?
Ouais, ça me ferait plaisir de communiquer au...
I'd be delighted to communicate the studies. The studies have been made public.
At all.
Comme je l'ai dit, ce sont...
As I've said, these are public studies concerning the fact that a third link is not necessary in the Quebec City area.
Policy and the analysis that you didn't do, that's why you're here. So in Toronto, again, I'm going to state this, it takes 29 minutes. It's the third slowest in the world in terms of traffic patterns. In Vancouver, it's 23 minutes to get to drive 10 kilometers. In Winnipeg, 19 minutes. And in Montreal, I have a whole list. Cities around the country, big and small, and all of them have one thing in common. There's traffic congestions, and we need roads. And those are just for folks that live in the cities. And I suspect that you know that you can't use a bike lane in places like in most rural ridings, and you certainly can't walk to work or walk to drive your kids to hockey, in frankly, any case. What do you mean when the network is perfectly adequate to respond to the needs we have? It's blatantly untrue. This is not even an analysis. It's just facts.
Comme je l'ai dit,
As I said, I was specifically referring to the third link project that links Quebec City and its South Shore. I wasn't speaking of Toronto, Montreal, or Winnipeg, or Vancouver. As I said in my introduction, I listed the $1.6 billion invested to maintain, expand the road network for various segments of the highway for which our Parks Canada has responsibility. These are major sums to maintain and improve the road network in various parts of the country.
We're not getting anywhere because you're not taking responsibility for the policy that you've announced on behalf of the Government of Canada, and it's very clear that maybe you don't have a role in making it.
Non,
I'm going to go
je prends la responsabilité d'avoir.
I have the responsibility in that I was not specific enough in the statement that I made. I've admitted that several times, and I've made it here today before the committee.
Ask you you've clearly walked back your comments, just like you've walked back many of the policies that you've had to put forward, or frankly, the Prime Minister walked them back for you. But on that, most Canadians believe that, most Canadians are against a carbon tax increase, even more so against the April 1st carbon tax increase. And in the case that the Prime Minister doesn't make a carve-out against your own signature policy and your raison d'etre here, is there any case, and you do a lot of analysis, you do a lot of polling, so you must be seeing exactly what the public polls are seeing. 70% of Canadians against it, 70% of premiers have now come out against it, different party leaders, different legislators have all come against your April 1st 23% tax
Point
increase.
of order, Mr.
Is there
Chair.
anything that you would do to change your approach,
Excuse
you
me.
personally?
Sorry, we have a point of order, Ms. Lantsman. I've stopped your time. Ms. Cpac.
Several of us have pointed out on this, even with earlier witnesses that have been here today. Relevance. We're here to discuss the comments that Minister Guilbeault made several months ago, and he's here before this committee to clarify what he meant. And I don't see the relevance of where my honourable colleague is going with this line of questioning.
Thank you, Ms. Katrakis. Ms. Lantsman, you weren't here for the previous ministers that had appeared,
watched.
but we did have a lot of
Minister,
questions.
the gas.
If we could just stay focused on the
Yes,
reason for
Minister,
which
the
the
gas
minister's here.
tax is levied, and of course, all Canadians pay into a carbon tax at the pumps that's going to be 23% more. So if you don't understand how the carbon tax affects road infrastructure, I can't help you. But I have a question for you. Is there anything that you would do to walk back? You personally, would you walk back, in any case, the 23% carbon tax increase in April?
Mais d'abord, je tiens à préciser que la
I'd like to specify that the Supreme Court of Canada has stated that it is not a tax because these revenues do not come back to the Canadian government, and 100% of the money goes back to Canadians in some form or another. To speak of the April 1st increase, your leader always mentions it without mentioning that the rebates are also increasing. You'll note that by province, people receive more than they pay.
Minister, you started this committee saying that you didn't say what you meant in your comments. Our government has made the decisions to stop investing in roads. First you said you didn't say it, then you said you didn't mean it, then you said you meant something entirely different. Then you talked about the analysis that we have done for the network to be perfectly adequate, and it turns out there is no analysis, or you did no analysis, or if there is an analysis, that you refuse to share that analysis with anyone. And then you said that the carbon tax is revenue neutral. We know that it's $20 billion in the government coffers, which $18 billion is not remitted, so that's not revenue neutral if you understand the definition of revenue neutral. And then you said that more families get more back in rebates than they do in paying the carbon tax. And we know that the parliamentary budget officer says that that's not true for the majority of families in everywhere where the carbon tax applies. So if you're not going to be truthful on the first four questions in my answer, I'm going to just ask you once. Are there any circumstances in which you will cause you to walk back the April 1st 23% tax hike that you are about to impose on Canadians, which your colleagues have believed has nothing to do with roads or the cost of gas?
Sorry, Ms. Lantsman. We'll stop the time there, Mr. Radaway.
Relevance.
It's a point of order for relevance. Okay. If we could just make the link between the roads and the question, I think that would be helpful for the minister and for committee members.
I will make this clear one more time. You put gas in your car to drive on the roads. I'm asking him about the carbon tax that you're about to raise on Canadian families on April 1st. So, Minister, do you have an answer to the question?
Ben, d'abord, je ne partage pas votre caractérisation de mes commentaires. Je n'ai pas...
First of all, I don't share your characterization of my comments. What I said was that I should have been more precise. I take full responsibility for this lack of precision. As for carbon pricing, your party and your leader never speaks of the rebates that people receive from this price. Yes, the rates will go up on April 1st, but so will the rebate. And your party never mentions that if we don't put a price on carbon, our economic partners will do so. Any country that exports to Europe must pay a carbon price if we do not have our own carbon price system. And in the U.S., our largest trading partner, there are plans to put up a border tax for any country that does not have a carbon pricing system. So either we do it ourselves or it is done for us by our economic partners internationally.
I just want to know if you've seen any data that suggests anything other than the 70% of Canadians that we see in public data that are against your April 1st tax hike, or that you've talked to premiers and had a separate conversation with them in any kind of way that would suggest that 70% of them aren't against the April 1st 23% tax hike. Is there anything that you have seen to suggest that any Canadians believe that what you are imposing in less than 2 weeks on gas, on groceries, on home heating, on families, on farmers, on First Nations right across the country is a good idea?
Oral questions, questions orales. The honourable member from Thornhill.
After 9 years of this Liberal NDP government and their soft on crime policies, Canada's criminal justice system is broken and Canadians feel unsafe in their neighbourhoods. Here's where we're at today. The biggest gold heist in Canadian history, $20 million gone, several suspects involved with gangs and gun running, and they're already out on bail 24 hours later. Wow. Why does this government think that gangsters who steal millions of dollars deserve to be released back into the community? 8 years of this Liberal NDP Prime Minister, Canadians know that he's not worth the cost. Even proud Liberal and former bank governor David Dodge, who worked for Paul Martin and Jean Chrétien, says that this budget is on track to be the worst one since 1982. Wow. Canadians know that this budget will bring higher taxes, higher spending, meaning even more misery for families who can't afford to eat. Instead of drowning everyone, will they fix the budget, axe the tax on farmers and food, and stop the endless spending with the dollar-for-dollar law so that Canadians can afford to live? Yeah.
So yes, gang, now we know a little bit more about Melissa Lantsman. She is a wild one. Super interesting, refined, and also outside of the box when it comes to stereotypical conservative MPs. Certainly one of a kind. My name's Ehren. This is Question Period Canada. We watch the daily question periods. We broadcast that stuff live. It's a really fun chat room. Come join one of the live shows. I think you'll have a great time. So that's it. Ehren, like and subscribe. Check out Question Period Canada, learning about Canadian federal politics. Right here. Remember to stay warm and have something healthy to eat today. Thanks for watching.